Ticket 1 will be down here. Oh. Ticket 2, ticket 3, ticket 4.
I'm sorry. Want to see the family? This is us? They think so. Have you drank out of your water? Did you bring your water? Oh, you don't have water either?
Can anybody stay in jail?
Nor do I doesn't me.
Doesn't matter who this.
I don't think it's that serious.
You know, it's crazy.
Bro, these lights are crazy. This is just like.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Harker. I'm the supervisor of elections for the 2024 Student Government Association election cycle. On behalf of the Elections Committee, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's executive debate. The purpose of today's event is to allow an opportunity for students to hear firsthand the platform and values that each executive ticket running for the positions of SGA President and Vice President. Before we begin, I'd like to highlight the Election Issue magazine, which contains biographies and campaign statements of all the candidates running in this year's election. I will also encourage you to visit the SGA Elections website, available at the QR code shown on the screen, as well as available at erau.edu/SGA-vote. Additionally, the entirety of today's debate will be recorded and shared on the elections website within a few days. At this time, please silence all communication devices. Photography and videography are permitted once the flash is disabled. Please allow me a few minutes to describe the order and the process of today's events. Firsthand, we will begin the executive ticket introductions. Each ticket will be allowed 90 seconds to introduce themselves. For each timed response this evening, I will indicate when there are 10 seconds remaining and when the allotted time for each response is up. After each ticket has introduced themselves, we will move on to the directed questions portion of the debate. The Election Committee has selected 5 questions that will be directed to each executive ticket. Once a member of that executive ticket begins to speak, they will have 60 seconds to complete their response. Once all executive tickets have completed their response to a particular question, we will open a period of general discussion between the tickets that will last approximately 120 seconds. During this discussion time, candidates may ask questions or comment on responses made by other executive tickets for that particular question. This process will be repeated for all 5 questions. At the end of the directed questions part of the evening, we will open a period of general discussion between tickets that will last for 15 minutes. Similarly, during the discussion time, candidates may ask any questions or comment on the reason or the responses made by the other executive tickets for all 5 questions. Once general discussion is complete, we will move ahead with the questions from the audience. Followed by closed comments from each executive ticket. The entire process will be repeated for the executive debate with the candidates running for the SGA Treasurer. We hope to begin that around 7:45 to 8 p.m. Finally, I'd like to talk about the upcoming event on Monday, April 1st. Over in the Student Union between 12 and 3 p.m., we will be hosting the SGA Elections Kickoff event, where you'll be able to meet with all the candidates on a one-on-one basis. I strongly recommend that you attend the event to interact further with our election candidates, especially if you still have unanswered questions after tonight's debate. So with that, if there are no questions from the candidates or the audience, we will proceed with the executive ticket introductions. Once again, the ticket will be allowed 60 seconds to introduce themselves. We will begin with executive ticket number 1, followed by 2, and so on and so forth. Ticket 1, you may begin.
Hello, everyone. It's our pleasure, Tashama and I, to introduce ticket number 1. And we are running on Your Voice Counts, Make SGA Great. Basically, we bring a vast experience of SGA to these 2 positions as president and vice president. Tashama and I, we have served in the SGA he has served in the last year. I've served 3 years in the SGA. I bring a new vision and mission as I have brought to the Senate during my term as VP this semester. We want an SGA that breaks the gap between students, because honestly, SGA and the student body is not well perceived. Many students, they don't want to be engaged with SGA, and it's our mission to change it. I've changed it on the Senate. Tashama has changed it, and we're bringing this to our term as president and vice president. Also, we want to make projects for you. For the last 2 weeks, we have been going to students asking them what their proposals are, because this campaign is for you and only you. Our ideas are great, but we want your ideas to be on our ticket in our campaign, as well as we bring a vast diversity and inclusion for all students on campus. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Ticket number 2.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabe, and this is Ryan Alvazados. We are running on Helping Eagles Soar. So our ticket is mainly based on inclusion, diversity, basically helping you guys get to where you want to be in life. I come from a background in the SGA. I work as the chief engineer at Wicked. Ryan is also the historian and vice president of NGPA. So we have a pretty diverse background within like diversity and inclusion. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to this debate tonight.
Ticket number 3.
Hi. We're running on Your Voice, Our Mission. Basically, I'm Sophia and this is Maddie, and I created the Puerto Rican Student Association on this campus. I also founded the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition on this campus, and I'm currently director of it. These are 2 passion projects of mine that were created to make this school more inclusive, and we want to direct that towards the SGA as well. So basically, as part of that, we've been able to bring companies and bring new opportunities to the school, and we want to use the SGA to be more inclusive, diverse, and transparent, and that is what our basis is. And then Maddie is very involved in Greek life, and she is also part of the team that gets the gym going. So we want to focus on wellness and well-being to communicate that within the SGA.
Ticket number 4.
Hello, I'm Eli Rodriguez Santiago. I'm a junior in aerospace engineering. So right now I serve as the SGA Director of Marketing and Communications. I was a founding member of the DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition, as well as a current ambassador. And I'm an active member of SHEP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. My main goal is to unify our community and improve communication internally within SGA and towards the student body.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jemima Davis. I'm a junior in aerospace engineering. I'm a honors student also, and I'm the current president of the National Society of Black Engineers. And our motto, Together We Climb, is a motto that means that we all need each other to go to a next level of success and excellence in Embry-Riddle. And together we can come up with ideas and projects and also work on it so that we can all be happy and feel like Embry-Riddle is a home for everybody. Thank you.
Ticket number 5.
Ooh, there we go. Can you hear me? All right. Yeah, how y'all doing? I am Ryan Mangra,
And I'm Brendan Sear.
and we are running on, what is it? Tomfoolery? What is it? Yeah, transparent tomfoolery. That's what we're running on. Because, yeah, we got, 15 seconds. Oh, we got some time left. So, yeah, basically a little bit about us, right? We're outsiders to the SGA, never held a position. He is on campus security, but never held a position in anything on campus. So we're all just, wondering kind of what goes on in there. Because, we haven't been too involved and we haven't really seen too much around, So we figured we'd get in and spice things up a little bit, hence the transparent tomfoolery. Bring you transparency and bring you tomfoolery. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, I'm Ryan, like I said, aerospace engineering major.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm also an aerospace engineering major here at the university, but effectively what we're looking for is just trying to make sure we're safeguarding a lot of transparency with the SGA, because I don't know about a lot of people around here, but at least us, and a lot of students I've talked to at the university aren't very familiar with what the SGA does besides mainly touch and go and Avion and stuff like that. So as far as just making sure the student body knows what the SGA is up to and where their money and resources are being used, as well as just a lot of other things that the students may need, trying to assist them with those things. So that's kind of what our basis of our ticket is on.
Thanks for the update.
All right, love to see it. All right, let's see, we got a countdown. We got like 3 more seconds on here. And there we go. All right.
Ticket number 6.
Hey guys, I'm Tim Dolan,
I'm Logan Price.
and we're taking number 6. I'm currently the fleet captain of the Embry-Riddle sailing team. I've been on the sailing team for 2 years now, and I'm running for president today because we want to increase our school spirit and make students more involved on campus, and we want to use the SGA as that platform to invite students to become more social, more active, and get out on campus and enjoy what it means to be an Eagle.
Yeah, so I'm currently a double major in astrophysics and computational mathematics, and I hold 4 leadership positions across campus in different RSOs, and then I also have multiple jobs on campus, so I've just seen this campus from a lot of different angles, and I see vice president as just an opportunity for positive change on campus, so we're really focused on inclusivity and empowerment and all that. You know, our motto is together we soar, together we serve, so thank you for being here today.
Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed with the directed questions part of the debate. I will read the question, and each ticket will be given 60 seconds to respond, starting from the time that they begin speaking. Question 1 reads as follows. What makes you the next effective president and vice president of the SGA? We will begin with executive ticket number 2, followed by 3, and so forth.
All right. So, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Leslie. What makes you the next effective president and vice president of the SGA?
So as I stated previously, Ryan and I both hold pretty high positions on campus. I also work in the SLS, so I get to see a lot of the inside of the SGA, not only from working, but also holding my position as chief engineer. Ryan also gets to see it as being VP of NGPA. So I've noticed that there's a lot of things. Usually the SGA is a well-oiled machine. But sometimes it has its little quirks and it breaks down. And recently it's been kind of broken down. So we really want to fix that because it just doesn't seem as welcoming as it used to. Do you want to take on that?
Yeah, so we're the best candidates because we've been going around and we've been getting
10 seconds remaining.
Student body's input, and we've done our research to see what we can do to best help them for what the needs they presented to us.
And that's time. Ticket number 3.
We're the best, We're the best candidates because we come from 2 different backgrounds. Me and Maddie come from extremely different backgrounds. I was raised in Puerto Rico, and I have the background of RSOs, and Maddie is very, very involved in Greek life, and she has more of a health and wellness background. So besides diversity, equity, and inclusion, our main goal as president and vice president is to make sure that students have a positive well-being, right? So mental health is something that's very important on this campus, and we want to make sure that everyone's mental health is in a good point. And as part of SGA, we have the means to do that, and we have the position to do that, right? So what sets us apart is that we don't only want to focus on these big, big goals, but we also want to focus on the students and what can make their students' day-to-day lives better. But that is something that's
10 seconds remaining.
Thank you.
Executive ticket number 4, you may begin.
So what make us effective, or what make me effective as a president in the SGA, is that I'm really concerned about the groundwork of the SGA leadership. I'm really concerned of where we're going, and I'm really concerned of where we can be. So really touching on the leadership, providing resources for our leaders in SGA, and not just SGA, the RSOs, so they can improve and feel happy to do their work, is one of the major things that I'm trying to do as a president. And also having a project tracker where whatever it is we're doing in SGA, whatever the senators are working on, whatever we're trying to improve, we're providing those resources and updates and progress to the students so they can know that we're working on what they're telling us to work on and that we're listening to them.
Yes, we have a lot of active leadership mentality, leading by example.
10 seconds.
And we're no, stranger to, including all these diverse communities and working together towards one goal.
Executive ticket number 5.
Alrighty, we're back at it again. Alrighty, so let's see. What makes us the best? I can't say best. Engineers don't deal in absolutes. Right, we gotta do some tolerancing. So, right, what makes us a pretty decent president and vice president? So, president specifically. Oh shoot, I forgot to start the timer. We're gonna do that. But yeah, so me specifically, I am also a student. Shocker. All right. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't really seen a lot of this stuff from the SGA, in my opinion. I know you guys are doing great, but I just haven't seen a lot. I do a lot of, comedic stuff on the side, do a lot of funny stuff. That jet out there, that's usually us, doing things. We kind of want to see stuff like that. We want to see people getting out, having a good time. We want to see where, we're paying each year. I want to see where that's going. right? And I want a good time from it, maybe even laugh a little bit. But yeah, so we're hoping to bring
10
that.
seconds.
Yeah, and then also just we come from very different backgrounds, diverse backgrounds along with that as well. So just trying to make sure that we're addressing
And
all the
time is
needs of the
up. Thank
campus as well as through the various.
Time is up. Thank you.
I know that we're the most effective candidates for our SGA this year because we come from two different, very different backgrounds, rooted in two different cultures. Logan's got her, diverse background with leading women and every other group that she's involved with, and I've got the spirited background that I use with the sailing team, and then combine those, I think that gives us a strong foundational goal that we can use to make the SGA great.
Yeah, and there's just a major disconnect when it comes to the SGA and just the student body and RSOs and even positions on campus. So there's a lot of concerns on campus. It just doesn't get to the SGA, so it doesn't get changed. So I really want to see those concerns addressed and changed for the student body to make everybody's experience just better.
Ticket number 1.
So I'm running for VP because I'm the current College of Engineering student senator. And before I was student senator, I was involved in multiple RSOs. I was in DBF, IRFSEDS, IRPL, and NESB. And that's the reason I ran for student senator, to help improve those organizations and implement projects that would have impact on students' life on campus. And also I saw Ender transition from being senator to vice president this semester, and he has done a tremendous job within it. So that's why I'm trying to run with Ender, because he can guide me through and help me out become the next VP and implement every plan and steps that I need perfectly.
I think really what the SGA needs right now is strong leadership, and that's what I bring to the table. This question is about who can perform the duties of president in the SGA. I bring extensive leadership to the SGA. I've been president of the Alpha
10
School,
seconds
president
remaining.
of the Flight Professional Conduct Board, co-chair of the Dean Student Advisory. You name it, been there, done that. And I want this organization to succeed because I care about this organization, and I want to break the gap
Time
between
is up.
student.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between candidates based off your response for question 1. Any candidate may begin. This is open discussion for you guys between candidates for 120 seconds.
Ender, I know that you mentioned that you have extensive background in the SGA and that you've been in the SGA for 3 years. You and Tashome have obviously been the incumbents for a while. Can you name some of the projects that you guys have done that have made an impact on the community, and what you're going to continue to do as you're in office right now?
Okay, so we're going to be transparent. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So we're going to be transparent. So the fall semester, the leadership, the vice president did not do a great job. All the student senators were affected by it. Each student senator has $2,000 that they can use per semester, and we were not informed about that or given any information about these allocations. But once Andrew transitioned in, he was like, hey, you have all these budgets, do as many projects as you can and positively impact your colleges or non-colleges respectfully. Me and Hunter, who's right here, we've been working on being much more transparent, so we're trying to send bi-weekly messages to College of Engineering students. I worked on a project where I implemented a new minor, which is the flight test engineering program within College of Engineering. And also, we've been implementing to adding a fridge and a microwave within the Lehman building, because we don't want students in the College of Engineering to walk all the way from Lehman to the student union and COAS and waste time. So that's some of the small projects I've been working on, but Ender can tell you a little bit more about what he worked on.
To be honest, the first things that I did as entering the SGA is start with my senators. At the end of the day, I care about the team that I'm leading, and the senators are the most important thing as being VP. And not only my work in the SGA has been running social campaigns, supporting senators, sending emails obviously to RSOs and whatnot, has been reinventing the Senate Forum event. If you guys don't know, or if you did your homework, the Senate has a forum every semester. That is where we get students' feedback, and this semester
10
I
seconds
remade
remaining.
it. So if you ask me, all the stuff that I've been doing on campus, I run out of time, so.
Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed with question number 2. Question question 2 reads as follows. If elected to the SGA Executive Board, what would your immediate priorities be for the SGA and the student body? We will begin with executive ticket number 3, followed by 4, and so forth.
If elected, our first thing would be to get student feedback. So something that we really want to focus on is doing everything based on student feedback. So we want to reach out to student body. We've done that while we're running, but we want to do that further. So if we were to be elected, that would be the first thing that we would do. Thank you.
Ticket number 4.
So our priority would be to be the bridge. Be the bridge between students and what they want to achieve in their career on campus. Be the bridge between students and the administration. Be the bridge between every official in SGA, really letting people know that we are here for them and that we're here to listen to them and that we're here to work on the project that they want us to work on. And one of the major things as a priority will also be to work on the leadership. Like I said before, the groundwork is really what makes the most of it. Once we can fix the foundation of the leadership in SGA, the rest of it will be easier for us to work on. Thank you.
Awesome. Ticket number 5.
Alrighty, so what would our immediate priority be? Well, like I said, transparency, tomfoolery. Be pretty transparent. We're gonna definitely, we already have our Instagram up. You guys check it out, check the gram, it's pretty cool. We're gonna be putting stuff up there, you know, what's actually going on. And then also, you know, putting stuff out there to make stuff actually go on, right? You know, getting out there with the students, doing our thing, kind of what we already do, you know, popping out and around with the jet, you know, with some music, with some fun, and just having a good time with everybody. That's kind of our immediate priority. Yep. Yeah, I think we have some.
I guess since we have some more time, we'll just continue talking about this point here. So really, we want to be, as soon as we get in, one of our big priorities to just be very active leaders among the campus community, being out there, being with the student body, listening to their needs and seeing what it is that they really want, and so we can assist them with whatever issues they may be facing, no matter how
10
small it
seconds
may
remaining.
seem. So just kind of being just very active leaders in the campus community would also be one of our very high priorities.
Time is up. Ticket number 6.
So clearly, transparency is a common thing amongst all of our candidates. Building on that, I want to clarify that the Dolan Price ticket is all for inclusivity. We want to break the barrier between us students and us athletes. We want to form a division of the SJA that will be a liaison between the students and the athletes, that will encourage students to go to games and stuff like that. As well as that, we want to fix like our parking system. Everyone knows that has a car here. Parking's not great, and that's something that we can build on. And I think we got some good ideas here that we can work with. And yeah.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, there's just a major disconnect, and there's a lot of concerns that aren't addressed. So something important that we're going to focus on is ensuring that our
10 seconds
ROTC
remaining.
program has a voice. So we want to give ROTC a Senate seat so that they can give their concerns and really be addressed by the SGA.
Ticket number 1.
All right, like you mentioned, transparency is a common thing around the SGA. So the first thing that I will do is always to be transparent, and doesn't start when I get elected, it starts now. All Senate meetings, all project reports, everything about Senate is right here. If anyone wants to grab it, transparency starts right here. Second thing will be bond between the chairs of every division and every branch of the SGA. It's common that our branch or head of the branches and divisions are not well understood across the board, so bonding across chairs is important. Create 8 new cabinet positions, including diversity, equity, inclusion, RSO representative, athletic representative, veteran representative, events coordinator, career services, mental health, and transparency. Yeah, take a look at them. Plan summer and fall, spring semester right like ahead of time. Transition guidelines. And
10 seconds remaining.
ROTC representative.
So if I were selected for SGA VP, I would personally fill out the vacancy for the College
That
of
is
Business
time.
and grad student.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between...
Can't get us.
Oh, sorry, ticket number 2. My apologies, you're in front of my screen. You're good. I'm gonna plan to do that right after.
In like chronological order. Yeah, so there's like different dates for different things.
Please, if you're standing upstairs, please return to your seats, and you can get those after the meeting. Thank you. We'd also like to just remind the audience of professionalism within the debate. Thank you. Ticket number 2, whenever you are ready, you may begin.
So transparency is going to be one of our biggest goals. We'd like to immediately start our regular tabling in the union if we were to be elected. That way we can let the student body have a direct person to go to hear what is going on and what we're trying to accomplish in the SGA, and also have their direct feedback to what they want to be done in the SGA. Also, everybody eats, and not everybody has access to food to eat. So another initial thing we'd like to work on is better advocacy for the food pantry. Additionally, international students are a massive proportion of our student body, and we'd like to give them more representation and more adequate representation and support for their lives while they're at Riddle and then nearly right after Riddle. We'd like to reinstate the liaison to clear up communications between the clubs
10 seconds remaining.
and the SGA. And then also we'd like to work with campus safety to get better security cameras in parking to help prevent the
Time is
massive-
up. With that, thank you, candidates. We're going to now transition into a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between the candidates based off the responses for question number 2. Any candidate may begin.
Tim, I noticed y'all mentioned parking. How do y'all plan to improve on that?
Yeah, so our plan to address our parking situation is we want to have an automated emailing service that will email every single student whenever they get a parking violation. So say you get a ticket for parking illegally. Well, that's pretty vague, but your campus safety or similar email address will email you that you've gotten that violation, and you will be notified immediately. So that will prevent you from getting any farther violations. Say if you park for a couple days and you don't go to your car, you won't be able to tell if you got a ticket on it. So that would clear that up. And I know in our red parking lots and our gravel parking lots, there's not very good signage telling you where and where you cannot park. So I think something that we can improve on there is provide more signage, more curb stops, or anything that it takes to make parking more clear. And yeah, just transparency. It all comes back to transparency.
Thank you.
For ticket 1, I know parking has been an issue for a couple years now on our campus. So if you guys are already in the SGA, what have you done so far to kind of like mitigate the issue?
All right, so if we're being honest, like parking is not something that we can control. Like we're not gonna lie to you, like the SGA has only so many limits. Like if it's anything that interferes with the school's business, we're not allowed to like be involved with it. So the only thing we can do is come to a middle ground. We can be like, hey, maybe it's a better idea if freshmen were allowed to park in yellow parking lot, and upper level, like sophomores, juniors, and seniors are allowed to park in like red parking or
10
blue
seconds
parking.
remaining.
But we're not allowed to interfere with the school's business.
Thank you, ticket number 1. Just a reminder, please keep applause to a minimum just so that we can prioritize the candidate debate and discussion, so we're not wasting any time. Thank you, candidates. Moving on to question number 3. Question 3 reads as follows: why should the student body trust you to lead and represent them? We'll begin with executive ticket number 4, followed by 5, and so forth. A reminder from our tech team, please just remember to move the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth so that everyone can hear you properly.
Can you repeat the question, Andrew?
Absolutely. Why should the student body trust you to lead and represent them?
To begin with, I think me and Jamal are extremely active members of our community through our experience in, I'm in SHEP, Jamal is in NESB, I'm also part of DI and also part of the SGA. So I have a good outlook on different communities and different perspectives on how they view the SGA and like how we can change that.
I also believe that we have been involved, heavily involved, like he said, and we know what it means to be a student on our campus. We have what the perspective is outside of SGA, and we believe that students can trust us to lead them in the SGA because we've been in their position. We've been outside the SGA, and so we can carry those ideas and those perspectives to lead the students to a next level.
Ticket number 5.
Howdy. So let's see, what was it? Why should the student body trust you to lead them? Why should you trust us to lead us? You know, that is an interesting question. All right, so jokes aside, I founded and led a robotics group for about 4 years. We did pretty decently, did some pretty cool, innovative designs, managed a pretty decent team there, and everyone loved it. It was a fun time. Let's see, I started my first company relatively soon, so jokes aside, I do understand actual responsibility and all that. We actually do intend to get some pretty cool stuff done. Social media-wise, I enjoy just hanging out with people, really. That's kind of a thing between the two of us. We just like that. So yeah, we already know how to connect with people, and we already know kind of what people like to see, what people like to hear, and how people like to be heard. So I don't know, that's just us.
Yeah, and then basically through the
10 seconds
kinda
remaining.
different positions we've had on campus, we've been able to get a really good view of the different aspects of campus life, whether it's through the eyes of the professors, the staff at the university, or even
And that's
just
time.
through the students themselves.
Ticket number 6.
So as we both previously said, we're both heavily involved on campus. I hold multiple leadership positions. I'm the secretary of the Society of Women Engineers, and I also work as the chair of the outreach committee, so I work a lot with the local community. And then I also work as a women's ambassador, so I've seen the university from retention and admission side of it, so I know what those students are looking for as well. And then I also just work on campus. I work for IT. So I've just seen this university from many different angles, and I know where the concerns lie, and I know where the disconnects are, so I think that that really sets our ticket in front.
Yeah, and then kind of capitalizing on what Ms. Davies said over there. I want to take my perspective from leading outside of the SGA into the SGA so we can see the shortcomings and help that to improve the SGA. And I take that as the fleet captain from the Embry-Riddle sailing team, just kind of bringing those different ideas in, and that would make it so we got kind of a different
10
perspective.
seconds remaining. Ticket number 1.
All right. They previously mentioned the experience outside the SGA. One of the fun, actually, facts about this ticket is that we not only take experience from SGA, we take experience from SGA to outside the SGA and outside the SGA into the SGA. And honestly, like, it's cool to have positions outside the SGA and everything, but I think the most core values and why the student body should trust us to lead is because we're an honest ticket. We're team leaders. We care more about the people that are with us than the stuff that we have to do. Because at the end of the day, we are family and we have to care for them. Also, we listen and we understand where everyone comes from. And that's the most important thing to lead the SGA, not only to implement projects and have cool ideas, but listen to your people and be there for students. You want to add something?
Yeah. And also, other than that, like we said, during our campaigning, me and Ender have been walking around campus. And
10 seconds remaining.
For the future, we're not trying to implement our own projects. We're trying to listen to students and listen to what they want and what they need, and then implement it around campus. Thank you.
With that, ticket number 2.
So, asking if y'all trust us, actually, you guys already do trust us. We're heavily involved in campus. Gabe works in Wicked. That is a glass office. You're able to see everything that he does and hear everything he does over the radio. I work for the SGA shuttle service. You guys entrust me to drive those vans. I'm also a pilot, and you guys trust me to fly over you and not have anything bad happen. Additionally, we've been in the position of freshmen, and we have talked with them, and we know what they want and what they need. And as well as the international population on campus, we've done a lot of talking with a lot of different people, and we've heard what they need, and we've already looked into what we can do to help them. Even if we're not elected, we've still begun to do things to help out their needs and their wants. Thank you.
Ticket number 3.
You should trust us because there's nothing that someone can come up to me about that I won't help with. For example, I had someone come up to me and tell me that they wanted to work for an X company that does not recruit anyone from Riddle. And personally, was that my job to reach out to that company? No. But I reached out to Career Services, and they gave me the go-ahead to reach out to that company. Now that company is a part of our career fair, and they recruit from Riddle. And like that, I've talked to about 10 companies from different parts of the world who now come to Riddle to recruit students. Was that my job? No. But I care about students, and so does Maddie. Maddie grew up on this campus. Maddie was a part of this campus from the moment where she was born. She came to the camps here. She basically grew up around us. So this school matters to us. And not only this school, but our peers and our students matter to us. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of, again, 120 seconds for discussion and debate between the candidates based off the responses for question number 3. Any candidate may begin.
Ticket number 2, I actually have a question for you guys. You guys mentioned international representation, for international students. And I'm wondering how you guys are going to achieve that. If you guys know all the kind of legal side of F1 visa, H1B visa, OPT, CPT visa, why are employers not sponsoring? I'm just curious how you're going to guys handle that.
So I actually am best friends with one of our hiring people for one of our companies from the career fair. A lot of times they don't hire people because of their visas, but also there's also not just, I lost my train of thought, I'm so sorry. Here, grab it real quick. Yeah.
So it's been an issue of visas in the past, and previous career fairs, they've even put up signs that they can't hire certain visas. And we were talking to some of the students, and they said that they don't have, they've been promised career opportunities immediately after Riddle, and then Riddle hasn't produced on that. So we can't directly do anything, but we know people who we can have a student representative pressure in order to have their better representation advocacy so they can get that career immediately after school so they don't have to go back to where they came from. They can still stay here after their education.
So ticket 2, how's your position going to be different than the International
seconds
Student
remaining.
Center that's in office right now?
What'd you say? He cut you off.
How's your position going to be different than the International Student Senator that's in the Senate right now?
Unfortunately, no. We will have more debate time towards the end. Just hold your horses. Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed to question 4. Question 4 reads the following. What changes do you feel are needed within the SGA to make it more effective? We will begin with executive ticket number 5 and then move on with 6 and so on and so forth. Ticket 5, you may begin.
Yep. So, what changes in the SGA? Interesting. Well, like we said, we like reaching out to people. We like people reaching out to us. Heck, it's a two-way street. So, that's kind of the first thing that we really think we need to, get going in there. That's the most pertinent thing, is kind of more social media, kind of more social media interaction with the SGA, some more posts, some more, not just in-person events there, but a lot more, engagement through there, whether it be through, polls, it be through reaching out in the comments, stuff like that, just funny videos, stuff like that. That's really at the core of, what changes we feel needs to be made, because we don't feel like, the other social media sites getting out that much, and we honestly don't feel like they're getting out that much. And we're just students like the rest of y'all, so we know some other people feel the same.
Yeah, and I guess overall, just kind of making sure that everyone on this campus,
10 seconds
or
remaining.
at least for the most part, knows what the executive branch of the SGA is doing for them.
Ticket number 6.
So I just want to expand on what I mentioned before with creating more of a connection between certain parts of the student body and the SGA. So that was the ROTC Senate seat, because their concerns deserve a voice. We have the best Air Force ROTC. It's in the southeastern U.S. We were just named the number 1 detachment. And then our Air Force ROTC also produces more commissioned officers and pilots than any other institution besides the Air Force Academy. So our ROTC deserves a voice in the SGA. They just don't have one. So I think that's just very, very important. And we just want to improve their lives in general around campus and make sure that their voice is being heard.
Yeah, building on that too, I think being bold is also something that needs to happen. A lot of the things that I've seen in my measly 2 years of being here is there hasn't been a lot of action. I've heard of SGA projects in the past, but I just have not seen those present, and I think that's something we can work on.
Ticket number 1.
Okay, so within the SGA, if I were to be elected for VP, honestly, what I would do is make sure that the student senators that I'm working with, which are my family, are reaching out to RSOs on campus, because some students don't even know who their student senators are. Because a few weeks ago, if I remember correctly, the Avion was talking to students and asking, hey, do you know who your representatives are? Most students said they didn't know who they are. So I'll make sure that student senators will reach out to organizations on campus, make sure who they are, known that who they are on campus, and implement projects that students want to see take action.
I mean, we can talk about changes all day, but the most important change that I want to see in SGA is basically being a unified SGA. We're an association, not an organization. An organization runs across vertically. This runs horizontally, and the divisions and branches, they need to start working together. Because most of the
10
time, I feel
seconds
that
remaining.
every branch and division, they work individually, and if we want to achieve more things and more engagement, we need to be one team of one.
Ticket number 2, you may begin.
So what we'd like to change is the transparency. So the weekly tabling that we mentioned, that's so everyone is informed. That's not happening right now, and a lot of people are not informed from what we've gathered from asking people. Additionally, we'd like to possibly get new shuttle services in place to other locations besides what is currently offered, so more people have an opportunity to get a ride to and from school. We'd like to increase the security in our parking places by adding more cameras. I was mentioning this earlier because there's been a massive increase in break-ins, and the increased cameras would be able to mitigate that. We'd also like to implement virtual student IDs. So right now, if you lose your Eagle card, anyone can pick that up and then therefore have
10
access
seconds
to our
remaining.
buildings and our facilities. And that is a large safety concern. So if we had a digital ID service, you can get in anytime as long as you have your phone, and then nobody else can pick up a random
That
Eagle
is
card
time.
and gain access.
Ticket number 3.
We want to change the stigma around the SGA and the overall public opinion about the SGA. So we want to make sure that students are more involved into the process and that they know that we have their back. And essentially, we just want the SGA opinion to be a bit better amongst the people on the campus. Thank you.
Ticket number 4.
So one of the things that we believe can make SGA more effective is outreach. The SGA needs to do more outreach to the student body. We all in here, we at least got 200 signatures to get on the ballot. Or the senators at least got 50 signatures to get on the ballot. So we know what it means to reach out to people. We know how to reach out to people. And I think if we set a goal every week, if we have to reach out to 10, 20, 50 students every week to get to know what they want and what they feel like could make their experience on campus better, we are able to do that. And not just that, but actually keeping track of the progress. Like I mentioned before, that a project tracker is very necessary for us. In terms of what Ticket 1 said about parking, and how they can really advocate for us in terms of that, I feel like if we have a platform where we can tell the students, we heard you in terms of this parking
10 seconds
situation
remaining.
or the shuttle, and this is what we're doing to work towards it, and this is the roadblock that we've been facing, and this is how we can get your help to fix the issues.
That is time.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between the candidates based off the question or the responses for question number 4. Any candidate may begin.
I mean, if no one's gonna say anything, I just want to thank these guys over here. I forgot your name, but yeah, no, they they helped us. Like, we were in the wrong order back there, so just want to shout out to them. They're pretty swell. So that's about it.
Thanks, guys.
With that, we will close that time of discussion and move on to question number 5. Question number 5 reads as follows: how would you keep the SGA focused on the issues of the student body? With that, we're going to begin with ticket number 6.
So we've mentioned in our campaign that we want to open the doors to weekly town hall meetings. We think that's the best way that students' voices will be heard, and then that's how we can stay focused on the goals of our students and make that the goals of our SGA. Because we are the voice of the students, and anything that we should, any action that we have is a direct reflection of the goals and interests of our students, and anything other than that is not what the SGA is for.
Yeah, with my experience in RSOs, my connection with the SGA is really just, oh, submit the budget packet. So I really want to build that connection between RSOs and the SGA and really just build that communication and make sure that they're both there to support each other, because in the end, we all go to school here and we're all just trying to empower each other. So that's the main focus of our ticket.
Ticket number 1.
The SGA at the end of the day is a business. You guys pay a fee to be in the SGA. You pay $150 of your money to be in the SGA, and you're a customer to us. So basically, the most important thing to the SGA is that students are satisfied. It doesn't take that much. Teshoma and I, we have done it through a term. We have done it for this campaign, going to students and talk to them. I personally have going to clubs that they don't have an awareness of the resources that they are available to the SGA. They don't know they can request money from the SGA, from executive board, or any help with treasury requests or anything. So that's one of the things that we need to start embracing. Looking at our students and seeing what are the problems instead of waiting for them to literally reach out to us and say like, oh, I have this problem. Is going to them, analyzing them, and see what problems or any issues that we can improve, or how can we better their life in the SGA.
To follow up from what Andrew said.
10 seconds remaining.
So following up what Andrew said, what's important is giving an ear and listening to what other people have to say and not giving your biased opinion. You just go in, listen to them, take
That
notes,
is time.
and then implement.
With that, ticket number 2, you may begin whenever you're ready.
So with our weekly regular tabling, anyone can come up to us and voice their opinions, questions, comments, concerns, anything, so we can help them out better. Additionally, with the liaison, saying that liaison with the RSOs, that way the RSOs, if they're unable to see us at the tabling, they have someone to report to so they can voice those questions, comments, or concerns directly to us, and therefore their issues can be directly implemented. Additionally, while we've been campaigning, we've heard a lot about the poor state of the food pantry. So we've added that to part of our goals if we're to be elected. And we've even done more research to learn that the food pantry is struggling with physical donations. So we've been working with them to learn more about the meal plan
10
donations,
seconds remaining.
which they are now able to take.
With that, ticket number 3.
Thank you.
How we would be focused is because we want everything to be student-based. So all our projects would come from actual students and their opinions. So we would be regularly meeting with either RSOs or just general tabling, as some other candidates have said, and we would make sure that everything that we plan on doing within the SGA would be student-based and student-focused. So that's how we would be focusing everything that comes out of our candidacy. Thank you.
Ticket number 4.
I think the number one thing is to keep the SGA accountable. I think the first step towards that is having an updated and live updated website. Throughout the past couple of years, our website has been kind of subpar in the transparency and having those documents ready. I think 2 days ago I tried to check the bylaws because an amendment was added without general session, so I went to check the bylaws. Bylaws were not there. Just having the updated website, having those trackers, those weekly updates with those meeting minutes from everything is a way to keep us accountable. And also a lot of our students don't have social media. A lot of them use Discord, so having those different ways to communicate with the student body.
And also having a performance evaluation committee. We have stuff like that in the different orgs that we're involved in. I feel like if we have a group of students outside of the SGA that can tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and how we can improve
10
or
seconds.
do more to help the student body. And also frequent one-on-one meetings with the officers in the SGA so we can all be on the same page and know what's going on.
And finally, ticket number 5.
All right, let's see. How would you keep the SGA focused on issues of the student body? Well, we talked about running on transparent tomfoolery, right? That transparency, guess what that does? It gives all of you power, right? It gives everybody power. Because if we're transparent about what you like and what you don't like, what's going on in the SGA, that gives y'all the ability to basically go and say, hey guys, we're not liking this. And as an entire student body, you can hold the SGA accountable through us because we're going to make ourselves successful. More on that with Brendan.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I don't know if many of you are aware, I mean, I wasn't even aware before I even began running for this position, but the executive ticket, the president and vice president, they have to hold office hours a certain amount each week. And I don't know if the student body knows about that the SGA leadership is that available to them. So making
10
the
seconds
students
remaining.
more aware of that resource so we can listen to their needs, just making that more accessible to them would be one of our good goals.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between candidates based off the responses for question 5. Any candidate may begin.
Ticket number 4, I have a question for you. You mentioned about the website being updated and kind of have live stuff in there. You're the current Director of Marketing and Communication for the SGA, correct?
Correct.
What?
I'm not the webmaster though.
Yeah, but
Okay.
so have you implemented any idea on the SGA about it? Have you done anything in the SGA regarding that topic currently?
Yes. So I attempted to start a SGA newsletter that had information from every single branch and division. That went well for about a couple months, and then after that, certain branches and divisions started to not give me the information, and I cannot put out a SGA newsletter without more than 2 or 3 branches of information. So that project failed, unfortunately.
I got a question for exec ticket number 2. You all have mentioned that you will be tabling, but do you think tabling is enough to reach out to students? Because I've been involved in Greek life and RSOs, and I don't think that's the only method that's enough to like reach out to students personally.
Yes, so with our tabling, people would be able to directly see us, and we're aware that not everyone makes it through the union or has a time to actually stop by and talk to us. So we also have an open forum. It's on our Instagram right now, but also we like to implement that so it's further used by everyone that can't directly see us or talk to us.
Being honest, in our experience in the SGA, tabling doesn't work. If you have a student government tablecloth and 10, students don't approach you. If you guys have noticed, we have been running social campaigns to make SGA, to raise an awareness about SGA on campus without the need of actually being on a tablecloth and just going naturally to students. Tabling is the thing that we scratch our head every day, and whether they know them.
10
Tabling
seconds
doesn't work.
remaining.
I think with better planning, it can.
And that is time. Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed with the general discussion of part of tonight's debate. During this time, candidates are given 15 minutes for discussion and debate amongst themselves based off the responses for anything said this evening. Any candidate may begin.
Ticket number 1, sorry, I'm going to kind of pick your mind because you guys are incumbent. But the current SGA budget is about $1.9 million, and other than a pie chart on the Student Treasury's website, most of our students have no idea where our money's going. How do you plan on making your campaign more transparent to our students so we know where our $100 fee is going every semester, or every year, excuse me? So you have those stack of papers, but like, it's not doing anything now. So
Literally,
how can we improve this?
Literally, I mean, sure, if any student can go to the office, I totally agree on your point. Every senator report is here, so any expenditure of any senator is here. Every request that has been sent to Treasury, it's right here. I totally agree, like, we're $150, they go to the SGA. I think one of the most transparent ways is for you to see the projects actually happening, like for you to see it on social media, for you to actually be able to not only interact what we were doing, but to be able to see. It gives you satisfaction when you're, for example, scrolling through Instagram. It's like, oh, the SGA is doing this project, why not? And that's one of the ways, not necessarily having a paper or something on, like, placed right in your face, like, oh, we're spending your money this way. Anyone can walk into the office and say, like, hey, what is the College of Engineering Senator spending on? What is the International Student Senator spending on? That's more than welcome. Not many students are aware of it, and I totally agree with your point. But at the same time, be more marketable around our projects. Like, one of the things that we did is Valentine's Day. That was very, very well received on campus. That's something that we market, and that's something that we invested money on.
So what about the students that don't have time to come up to the office or don't have Instagram? How are they able to get that information?
So you're saying students that they cannot go to the office?
Some students, I myself, this semester have been very busy, and I haven't had time. So I know a lot of our students are very busy, and what if they don't have time? So like you said, with tabling isn't effective, or the form wasn't effective, like people that don't have direct access to that, how can they get that information and be informed?
I mean, one of the things that we're working on right now in the SGA is to make all documents of the SGA available on campus groups. And I totally get that students, they can be busy or they don't have the time to go to the office or Instagram. Interest starts somewhere. And if we allow the resources to be available for all students, like for example, campus groups, there's no student on this campus that has not access to campus groups. Everyone has earning access and everyone has campus groups to access to. And that's something that the SGA is right now working on, implementing it on the website. It should be finished by the end of the semester. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
You still have the remainder of the 15 minutes. It's not stopping until the 15 is up.
Ticket number 6. You also mentioned that you are outside the SGA and that you're pretty much involved in outside the SGA. So how do you plan to engage or collaborate with the RSOs on campus and the student outside of the SGA?
Yeah, so my experience outside the SGA is limited to the sailing team, and we are a Tier 1 organization for SGA. So we work closely with our SGA counterparts to make sure that we have all of our semesterly requirements. And in doing that from our side, rather than the SGA side, we can see the shortcomings on how communication failures are going and stuff. And I want to eliminate that so future leadership in clubs, any RSO, not just the sailing team, of course, is available to effectively get their club's goal done without the SGA being a liability.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier just being being a leader of an RSO, just having that disconnect. So I really want to make sure, especially as vice president and leading the Senate and through those town halls that we discussed earlier, I want to make sure that RSOs understand that they are especially invited to those and especially invited to voice their opinions and get their needs addressed. So I definitely want to make sure that that communication is clear. We've been mentioning campus groups and things like that. I want to advertise things like the SGA and the Senate forums and things like that on campus groups, make sure that all these RSOs know that they are happening so they can send representatives there. Because a lot of RSOs have representatives that would really benefit from speaking to certain Senate seats, and they just don't have the access to do that.
Question for ticket number 2. Following you, up with a question about the international student representative in your cabinet, what would be really the change or the difference between the international student senator, a position on the SGA that gets a tuition stipend every semester? Because, I mean, my international student senator has been working on proposals and has been working closely with career services, the same points that you bring to the table. So, being closer to the cabinet of the president, how different would be this position?
So when we were talking to different international students, they still felt like they didn't have that representation support that they desired and that they needed. So obviously right now it's not adequate. So having that extra position and that extra person doing their work and putting pressure on the people that can actually change things, that's how it can get better.
So you're talking about adding a position to your president cabinet. How would you support your international student senator? That's my question. Because you're talking about a position to add in the president's cabinet. You as the candidate for vice president, how are you going to support your international student senator, one of your teams, to be able to achieve this project? That's the question that I have.
Well, I'll be involved in their projects and reaching out with them to their constituents and seeing what needs to be done and how I can effectively help them do their job and exceed in their job and their tasks.
I mean, the reason that I ask you the questions about the visas and everything is to see what other information you might have to kind of like lead your senator. At the same time is what other, I'm curious, you guys proposed it, and I'm curious what other information you guys have that I'm not aware of. Then I'm generally interested in what you guys bring to the table with that specific topic. Because right now, I didn't get a response, to be honest.
I'm confused about your question. I feel like you're just repeating.
So the question that I asked you earlier about H-1B visas, OPT, CPT, and all those questions regarding international students and why they cannot get jobs on campus, my international student senator is looking into that right now, and he has an active project of bringing an immigration lawyer to campus to be able, basically for students to use it for free on campus. Anyone will have legal access to a lawyer that can guide them through legal immigration and all that stuff. What information do you have, or what makes it this unique for that position of the cabinet that we would not need the International Student Senator for?
We're not saying take it away. What we're saying is that currently the international students that are requesting the support, they are unaware and they do not feel adequately supported in it. So that just adds another level of the possibility for that support to be seen and felt by the international students.
Yes, you can.
So long story short is, there's a problem with representation, and you want to add one more position.
Yes, we'll use it as backing, but also, have they been informed of this new thing that your international student representative is doing, or international student senate is doing?
Can you repeat the question again?
Has your okay? I'm trying to figure out how to word this. You got it.
So what he's trying to say is, has your senator been reaching out to the international students so they know that this is happening? Because from what we have seen from asking the student body, none of them have any idea that any of that is happening.
What are the requirements to be an international student, a senator? What is the basic requirement to be an international student senator? You need to be an international student, right? So basically, my senator knows specifically what he feels and what is the problems across the board. He knows about the immigration problems and the timeline delays with specifically nationalities with China and India, that they take 7 years to process a visa. And he's actively working with career services. Now, if you want me to tell you specifically what he's working on and just spread out a project that has some structure but is not finalized for students to use, that's a little bit nonsense. Like, the project is not finished and is not well established now for international students.
Well, you mentioned that he's working for there, but obviously he hasn't related that to anybody of what he's been working on. From who we've talked to, nobody has any idea that any of that's happening.
I mean, fair point, but same thing, like when you're working on a project, would you like just to share to everyone how's the project kind of like changing and everything for everyone? No, it takes time to basically build a base on it and then share it.
I actually disagree with that, because if they're actively involved in the process, then they're able to give us pointers, because you're not just doing that alone. If you're having constant support from everyone and input, then you're able to have a more dynamic result from that, and it'll be better and more streamlined.
I mean, sure, but like redirecting the focus to the question, what other things are you guys gonna do? Like, what is the specific thing that you guys are looking for? You have not given me any specific information about this topic.
He's not doing anything different than the senator. The senator can use this cabinet position as a backup to help them and guide them through these things.
So why would you want to add a new position and possibly waste resources on adding this when you can just fix the shortcomings of our existing senator, and then that would solve every problem?
Can you repeat the question, Tim?
Why would you want to exhaust SGA resources creating a new liaison to international students when we can fix the shortcomings of our international student senator to resolve both issues?
Well, that'll give them further support. They make up a large percentage of our campus, and they're not feeling adequately supported, then that's just going to leave a stain on their Riddle career.
With that being said, let's move on to a different question.
The question I wanted to ask on was exec ticket number 4. You guys mentioned about parking, but that's like a big project if you were to work on, and that would take like probably a semester or 2 semesters to implement. But like I said earlier, we need to be realistic within the SGA and see what we can control and what we can't control. So for example, as a student senator, we have multiple liaisons. I'm associated with the library, and I wanted to implement like a coffee machine and a tea machine, like something super simple, right? But the library's director has neglected me and said, this would not be possible because of X, Y, and Z. But if you were to implement parking, it would be like a bigger issue because you would have to work with facility and administration. So how would you plan on working and fixing parking around campus?
SGA has already kind of started projects like that before. Former SGA president started a garden project that works with facilities and administration, and it's in progress and it's still working. And that's a year project or longer. So I don't think that's a reason to deter us from doing that, especially if we're advocating for a large amount of our student population.
I mean, to be honest, with parking it's kind of like a hit or miss. Everyone every single year talks about parking, to be honest. There is no solution that comes from SGA rather than just going to campus safety and negotiating about the parking situation. And that's one of the leading questions of the Shoma is no one, like, what is the unique thing about the parking situation that you guys see or nobody has seen that is going to solve the parking situation? Because everyone just literally like brings up the parking situation every semester just to attract students to their campaign, but what is the specific things that you guys are going to change about the parking situation?
I think there's a miscommunication in what we were saying about parking. I didn't really mention parking as a specific thing that we wanted to fix. The reason I brought it up is because it's just one of the examples that are major on our campus. Parking, housing, shuttles. Those major things on our campus are problems that students are always complaining about. I brought it up to say that we can be better in communicating what exactly is going on in those situations, because then the students feel like we're not listening to them or that we're not willing to help in the situation because they're not seeing that we're either working on it or we're not working on it. That's the main reason why I brought it up.
So essentially, you just want to keep students updated on what you're working on.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
communication, yeah. And transparency.
And advocating.
Unity.
So I think that our campaign provides a good solution to the parking. Like you guys said, there's not a lot the SJA can do to fix the whole parking thing, which is why I think circles back again to transparency. Like I said before, notifying students immediately of what their errors are and how they can make it better is probably the best way to enforcing parking, because parking policies, I guess they're not as well known enough for students to keep making the same violations over and over again, and I think clarity, again, circles back to that.
Tim, let's do something. I really like your idea about the parking situation being electronic notification. Something that we were also thinking, and if you want to collaborate together, regardless of who wins or whatever.
10 seconds remaining.
An app that literally, with your location, tracks how many students
And that
are
is
on campus.
time.
That was 10 seconds?
Interesting.
Jesus. I felt like quick.
Thank you, candidates. That brings us to the general audience Q&A part of tonight's debate. During this time, audience members will be asked to raise their hands, and a member of the executive committee will bring the microphone to you. The question from the audience must follow up or relate to what a candidate has already said tonight. If you are, and you are asked to indicate who your question is directed to, for example, all tickets, ticket one only, etc. Now the floor is turned over to the audience. Jonathan will be handling the microphone. You can pick. You pick. I believe it was. Can we get a little bit more lighting in the house so Jonathan can see?
My question is for ticket number 3. In your introduction, you mentioned you're the director of DEI. Am I correct?
What was your question again? Can you repeat?
No, I'm confirming before I ask you my question.
So
You said you were the director of diversity.
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition. So there are 2 different DEIs.
Okay,
There's-
thank you. I just
yeah.
wanted to confirm. So the actual question, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it to be rude. The actual question was, in Florida, recent anti-DEI laws have been passed, and that makes it hard for DEIs and other minorities on campus to get funding. As the director of DEI, what have you done, or what proactive measures have you taken against this legislation that can verify us to know that when you become our student president, you'll be able to take proactive measures against various other things? Thank you.
So if I understood your question correctly, it was about the legislation that's passing in Florida, right? So part of what we've been doing is we are taking into account what is going on in Florida in general, and we plan for it. So right now we do have backup plans to what is gonna happen to RSOs if legislature affects Riddle. Right now Riddle is a private university, so we don't have as much influence in that, but we do have backup plans in terms of what the legislature is gonna affect us.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dallas Valentine. I'm the current student life senator for the SGA. I'm pretty passionate about DEI and bringing culture to campus and making everyone educationally aware of what's going on with like different people's cultures and things like that. This is for all tickets, but I'm just wondering, what are you guys willing to do or going to do to bring more awareness to culture and differences on campus and inclusivity and stuff like that on campus? Thank you.
So one of the first things I would do if I was to be selected for VP of the SGA is organizing like how the SGA has forum days, like having a forum day for like international students or like a diversity organization like SHEP, NSBE, SACE, and whatnot, because there are a lot of international students on this campus that would love to share their culture, love to share their food and whatnot. So having a day dedicated to like supporting like diverse organizations like that would be something I'll be investing my time in.
I believe recently SHEP, NSBE, SACE, and other professional like ethnic orgs have come together and like done their own events. Like they paired up with career services and doing like resume reviews, career expo prep. I think SGA should definitely be a part of that since it's really promoting professional growth for our like future leaders in our community. I think just SGA, stepping in and just putting our name on that, getting more awareness, as well as just that first step towards that.
I also want to add that as SGA, we shouldn't wait for other RSOs to collaborate before we form an event or before we host an event. If we have to host multicultural events, if we have to host different festivals to just celebrate diversity, we shouldn't wait on the RSOs to do that before we take actions. Because the student RSOs, they already have a lot on their plate, and just adding that to them can be overwhelming for them. So I think SGA should have their own plan without even the help of the RSOs, but instead invite them to participate.
Following up on that, also people like on here, we've worked on making diversity a part of the university as a whole. So Elliot and I are both on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition, and as this event is going on right now, there's also Global SIPs going on, which is actually part of Blue and Gold Week. So we've worked with the university before on integrating the RSOs that have to do with culture, diversity, and inclusion into actual campus events, like world campus events. So while this is going on, we have events that are going on literally right now that include 15 RSOs in this case that have to do with culture and diversity.
I'd like to chime in too. I'd like to note that Embry-Riddle does a great job at diversity. 29.3% of our students are women, and the industry average for pilots is 10.2%. So that's triple of what the industry average is for pilots, and it's not much better for engineers. So whatever we're doing now is working.
Yeah, and I just want to add, you and I actually spoke previously about this. So I'm heavily involved in female representation on campus with Society of Women Engineers and then Women's Ambassadors. So that's something I'm very passionate about. I've worked very closely with the DEI office, and I know that they're remodeling that office to make it more of a hangout area for students to really come together. And I really think that should be encouraged by the SGA and advertised by the SGA. A lot of people just don't know that that's going to be happening unless you're an RSO who's involved with DEI. So I want to make sure that that's known to the public, that people who want to, come together, communicate together, have a place to do so.
Alrighty, and then I guess we're the last ones to chime in on this one. So in terms of cultural diversity, all of that fun stuff. Everybody's got a culture. Everybody wants to celebrate it. And right now I'm Caribbean. I just like eating my chicken curry and everything. Every now and then, right? And when I see the CSA out playing some soca, getting some vibes going down, all of that, right? I love it. I love it, right? And I can imagine how much everyone else in this room loves it when, their culture is, being shared. So, like I said, our ticket is transparency and tomfoolery, and mainly transparency with this one. We're going to make ourselves accessible to you. You guys make yourselves accessible to us. And if you guys got a fun thing you want to do, celebrating your specific culture, heck, hit us up. That's us.
I wanted to tie in the question that Serena asked in Dallas in terms of diversity. I think this is where the forums are really, really important. Whenever those kind of laws are put in place, if we have to gather the student body and encourage people to vote and all together come with action plans that we can do to make sure that our school, our students, and our campus is not being affected by these laws, or to actually mitigate, because we all have a voice. Whether it's on our campus or in the US as a whole, we all have a voice.
So as Ticket said, forums are important. Also, we'd be reaching out to the RSOs and seeing what events they'd like to do and how we can help them make those events happen so they have better representation and how they can share themselves with the rest of the student body.
All right, this is specifically for Ticket 6. I'm concerned with something you said closer to the beginning. You used the phrase creating a division for athletes. And I was wondering if you're using that in the sense of like an actual SGA established division, which are by students and for serving campus. And I'm wanting to know what actionable items you're trying to take with that, because creating a division is something that is much broader than a lot of people would think of it as. It is something that is like for the purpose of serving campus. It is something that any person should be able to come and be interested in and get the skills required to join. And you're talking about something specifically for a small subset, which is athletes on campus. So what actionable things are you actually talking about with that?
Okay, perfect. So I must have miscommunicated the goal of that project. It was to promote students to attend athletics events. The whole goal of this division would be to encourage students to enjoy what our athletes do and celebrate their talent. So we have a group similar on campus now. It's the Elevation Nation. It's like the pep team. They get people out to games. They make a fun atmosphere, and that would be the goal of this SGA division. And in doing this, it would promote social community to all of our students, not just the athletes. Promote our athletes because they have students coming to their games now, because that's something that lacks through Embry-Riddle is no one attends our athletics events. And it sucks to be an athlete if you're going to a game and no one's watching it. And it's bad for if you're a student because if you're in your dorm, you're not making friends and enjoying what college is all about, right? So.
And
I'm confused how I haven't answered the question yet, but like physically what the division is going to do, just to encourage students to come to games and stuff, or. So the goal of the SGA is to improve the student experience and make it the best as possible for every student. Athletics events are something that all students can enjoy, and that improves the student experience, and that's what the SGA is for. We can do this by, many different ways, like the Elevation Nation is already doing now, and it would just complement them and make it grow better. Yes, we're going to open a bar on campus.
Candidates, we have about 5 minutes remain on questions, so I'm going to ask if we can keep I know we have a lot of questions from the audience. I'm going to ask if we can keep our responses short and straight to the point, so therefore we can answer as many questions as possible. Thank you.
So this is mostly for Ticket 6, but feel free, any ticket, to answer this question. I know there's a lot of animosity towards the current SGA. I've heard the most from Ticket 6. That's why mostly, and a couple of questions are formed from that. But how involved have you been with the SGA? How many efforts, how many events have you gone to the SGA's put out? How many surveys have you gone to? You mentioned having a parking forum. Court had one last fall. Did you go to that? There's an RSO forum day. You guys mentioned how RSOs could be more connected with the SGA besides just Treasury. Did you guys sign up for the RSO forum days with your RSOs? And I guess with that, do you know the current role of the SGA president and vice president?
So, in working with the sailing team, we attend SGA town halls, treasurer town halls, and events that explain how different funding and stuff is going to work for the clubs. And we use those to operate our club. And outside of that, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and you just asked if we understand the current roles of the president and the vice president. Really just, the leader of the entire SGA to make sure that the connection between, in my opinion, to make sure the connection between the student body and then their governing body is clear. It's, it's transparent. We've said that a lot, transparency. For me, for vice president, I really see the importance of overseeing the Senate and making sure that each Senate seat is connecting with the people that they need to connect to and getting what they need to get to done. So just being that person who will help them, have clear communication and have that transparency.
Real quick, I know you opened it up to everybody, so I figured might as well chime in. we are one of the everybody. But that's actually an interesting thing because we were talking about it before. Do we know what the role of the SGA president and vice is and all that, right? Truthfully, we know what's on paper, right? We don't know everything that goes on yet. That's the whole point. We're also just students that have never really been affiliated in an SGA position. The whole point is, we're trying to see what it is for you guys and document our process along the way, like through our Instagram and stuff, like I was mentioning before. We're gonna, document basically, hey guys, transparency and tomfoolery, right? That's us. So, hey guys, here's what we did this week. Here's what we're learning about the presidency. Here's what we're learning about the SGA. So, we definitely are looking into those questions. So those are pretty cool ones.
So just a little quick thing. This will be the last question for this time. You guys are free to ask questions with the candidates after the debate as well.
Okay. So for the past 3 years, I haven't seen really shit from the SGA, and I've had 150 each year going to you guys. So I'd like to know, what's the point of the SGA besides divvying up money to clubs, which seems like the school could just do? And what have you divvying up money to what the school can do? And if you say, like the other 3 organizations under you, that my 150 can just go to them, I don't see the point to the SGA. So please tell me, what have you guys done in the past 3 years or so that has helped the school?
I mean, that's directly to our ticket or any ticket in here? Well, I mean, the projects that I work on as College of Aviation Senator and how I improve students' life on the College of Aviation, the first things first is how it relates to the president position is I push back in a lot of administration from the COA and flight department for a lot of the policies that might affect flight students. For example, there was a fatigue ground policy that they wanted, a 0 ground fatigue policy that they wanted to implement, and I was one of the student voices to actually raise up and say, hey, this is wrong, and implemented a new policy for fatigue ground that is underway and about to be published. At the same time, working on an electronic queue for students. Instead of waiting 6 hours on the flight department, just sitting around to get a call, they have an electronic queue that they can use for them to sit standby and kind of like go to the dorm or something. It's the little things that matter the most. For example, for
about 10 seconds remaining.
I mean, for projects as SGA Vice President, we had a lot of, we're adding locations for microwaves next week for you. Are you an engineer? So if you want to heat up your food in the engineering building.
That is time.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
If you want to ask us the questions, I'll be more than happy.
Thank you all very much. At this time, I'd like to invite each executive ticket to make any closing comments. We'll allow 90 seconds for each ticket to make their closing comments, starting with executive ticket number 1 and going down the chain.
You want to start?
Ticket 1 whenever you're ready.
What was the question?
Can you repeat the question?
This is just closing comments. You have 90 seconds to talk.
You want to start?
Yeah. Well, our ticket, we will firstly like to thank you for coming here to this event. We really appreciate it. We know you have like a lot on your plate, but me and Ender really care about this position. We've been involved in the SGA I've been involved for a year. He's been involved within the SGA for 3 years. We really love this position. The next step for Ander from VP is turned to the president, and for me from senator is managing other senators to becoming a VP. So we would really like to appreciate you and your time.
I also just like to remark, like, we want to hear from students. I hear your concern and I hear where you're coming from, and I really care about it. And I'm interested in having a conversation with you, not to educate or anything. I really like your perspective and your point of view, and our ticket wants to work with you, not only with any other student or any other project. It's those specific remarks that he was claiming. That's one of the things that we want to address on this ticket, because we have passion, we have a mission to make SGA an impactful SGA to all students, and also that advances projects and makes a great impact on campus, because we want to make SGA great.
Awesome. With that, I will hand it to ticket number 2.
Gabe and I both would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out. You guys could have been doing homework and other things, and you took the time to come out here to listen to us, and we really appreciate that. Additionally, through the before campaigning and while we've been campaigning, we've both become way more passionate and just involved in this, and we are very excited to have the opportunity to do this position and strive and excel in this and help each and every one of you out. If you see our barcodes, feel free to scan that, or if you see us on campus, reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to answer your questions, give you guys more information, and just help you out if you need anything else. All right, thank you all very much.
Ticket number 3.
We would also like to thank everyone for coming out today, and our fellow people who are running for coming out and just having a good conversation. We would love to be your future president and vice president and take into account your voices into our campaign. But thank you so much for everything today.
Ticket number 4.
Yeah, we also want to say thank you. I know there's a 2-hour event, so sitting here listening to everybody's remarks. But we just want to say, like, if you have questions after this, come up to us. We'll be here for a while after this meeting. I believe your name is David. David, if you have any that question after the meeting, I can give you a full explanation on that. As this is my first year in SGA, but I've gotten to know every division, every branch, and what they do, and how they support SGA and the student body overall.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to let everybody know that I care for you guys. I care for everybody. And then if there's one thing I have, it's compassion and passion. As a person that grew up in Nigeria, I know what it means to long for a community. I've had friends that had to leave the school because they don't feel like they belong. And I'm here to change that. I'm here to make everybody feel like we are a group of students and we can all work together for positive changes. And also, if there's anything that you need, any questions that you have, I have a track record in my organizations that I've been a part of where we increased the membership over like 70%. So wherever I'm a part of, I make sure that I change things. I make sure that I implement changes. I make sure that I grow the community in whatever organization I'm part of. And I'm always putting my time to everything. You guys are first, I'm second, okay? Thank you.
Ticket number 5.
Oh. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, we're back again. Alrighty, so yeah, we got 90 seconds about here. So, what do we say? What do we say to close this thing off? Well, we're literally just a couple of guys trying to have some fun. That's about it. Like, here's the thing, right? We're literally just doing this like the rest of y'all. That's kind of the main thing if you haven't noticed. We really just want to see what's going on with the SGA. I feel the sentiments in that corner very strongly. I feel the sentiments in that section very strongly from what, the comment was a bit ago. I don't know what the SGA is really doing. No shame to them. I mean, I'm sure you guys are doing great, but I don't see what's happening. So, transparency and tomfoolery. Let's get that out there. We got a poster out, by the SU area over there. We got an Instagram. Might as well check that out. We're gonna put some fun stuff up there, probably about this. But yeah, that's just a little bit about us.
Yeah, so in the end, if you guys choose to elect us and put us in this position, we'll do our best to try to promote a culture on campus where students will be able to reach their fulfillment here at the university in a more full and easy manner. And with that regard, we hope you guys will consider us for this position. And at the end, what do you have to lose?
Ticket number 6.
Thank you guys again for coming out today. I know a couple other tickets mentioned they're interested in this position. I want to mention that I am interested in here for you, for the students. I am not here for the position. It is our goal as SGA president and vice president to improve your student experience, and that is the epitome of our campaign. We want to make sure every Embry-Riddle Eagle is proud to be an Eagle and nothing less. And if that's what you're about, vote ticket number 6. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys again for coming. Tim and I are both very passionate about being involved, and we really want to be able to make a positive change on this campus. And thank you to our other candidates for a wonderful conversation. This was really fun. So yeah, have a great night, guys.
Thank you, candidates. It's my pleasure to wrap up tonight's President and Vice President Executive Debate for the 2024 SGA election season. I would like to take a moment to remind you of the elections kickoff event happening on Monday from noon to 3 p.m. on the first and second floor of the Student Union. Again, this is an opportunity to meet candidates, have one-on-one, and we highly recommend to attend, especially if you have unanswered questions from tonight's debate. As a reminder, voting will take place starting on Monday at 8 a.m. and ending Thursday, April 4th at 11:59 p.m. It will be taking place online at erau.edu/SGA-vote. The announcements or the election results will be announced during the Skyline Social on Friday, April 5th at 5 p.m. in the Student Union. This concludes the presidential and vice presidential or president executive debate. We will have the treasurer debate in about 20 minutes, a little bit less than 20 minutes now. If you have any questions, please come down and talk to the candidates. Thank you. If you are here as a treasurer running in the SGA election, please come down. I just want to make sure we have everyone, and we're going to go meet in the next few moments. Thank you. We're going to meet in 102. Thank you. Appreciate you. Let me know if you need anything. Seriously. Let me know. How'd that go? I tried. Everyone's here mainly for the President VP. We're just set some. We're starting at 15. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I'm sure. Well, one of the tickets earlier didn't realize that one was here and not over there.
You're all good, my brother. My brother. That's a live microphone.
Let's get this show on the road. Good evening. My name is Andrew Harker, and I'm the supervisor of elections for the 2024 Student Government Association election cycle. On behalf of the SGA Elections Committee, it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's election for the executive debate for the next SGA treasurer. If you are here following the debate, executive debate for the next SGA and vice president, welcome back. Today's event allows students to hear firsthand on the platform and the values of each of the executive ticket running for the position of SGA treasurer. Before we begin, I'd like to highlight the SGA Elections magazine issue, which contains biographies and campaign statements of all the candidates. And I also encourage you to visit the SGA Elections website, available at the QR code shown on the screen or at eriu.sga/SGA vote. Additionally, the entirety of today's debate will be recorded and shared on the elections website in a few days. At this time, please silence all communication devices. Photography and videography are permitted once flash is disabled. Please allow me a few minutes to describe the order and the process of tonight's event. First, we will begin with the candidate introductions. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to introduce themselves. For each timed response this evening, I will indicate when there are 10 seconds remaining and when the allocated time for each response is up. After each candidate has introduced themselves, we will move on to the directed question portion of the debate. The election committee has selected 3 questions that will be directed at each candidate. Once candidates begin to speak, they will have 60 seconds or 90 seconds to complete their response. Once all candidates have completed their response of a particular question, we have an open period of general discussion and debate. During this time, candidates may ask questions or comment on responses made by the other candidates for that particular question. This process will be repeated for all 3 questions. At this time, it's the end of the directed question time of the evening. We'll open a period of general discussion between the candidates that will last for 15 minutes. Similarly, during this time, candidates may ask questions or comments on the responses made by other candidates for all of the 3 questions. Once general discussion is complete, we'll move ahead with questions from the audience, following by closing comments from each candidate. Finally, I'd like to talk about the upcoming event on Monday, April 1st, over in the Student Union on the 1st and 2nd floors. Between 12 and 3, you are able to meet candidates on a one-on-one basis, and I strongly recommend that you attend this event to interact further with your election candidates, especially if you still have unanswered questions after tonight's debate. If there are no questions from the candidates or the audience, we'll proceed with the candidates' introductions. Once again, each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to introduce themselves, and we will begin with candidate number 1, followed by 2, and so forth. Candidate 1, you may begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bryce Farnham, and for me becoming treasurer, I really want to focus on communication, dependability, and revisionary. Through communication, I do want to bring back emails. I know it's been a big complaint over the recent amount of time that I've been on the Student Treasury Board currently. And just also allowing more town halls. I want to add one in the beginning before the budget packet is due. I want to add one within the 2nd month, just to kind of give a mediary any questions or concerns within. And then for the 3rd one, I want to do capital expenditures like we have done this semester. And then lastly, in the last month of the semester, I want to add in basically an end cap to make sure if you guys need any extra help towards the end. And then I also, during my dependability, I want to offer a time on the weekend, on Sundays, so it'll probably be an hour block. You'll have 10 minutes each through each group, and you can contact me, have any concerns that you may have. And then lastly, for revisionary, I have been looking into, I want to create a form for you guys that basically allows for the transparency of the old officers and the new officers to move in and basically allow all financial decisions or basically outbounds of financial history that may be incurred currently. And then I also added it to work on our bracket
10
system
seconds remaining.
that we have set for us. And basically, one of the systems that I want to add in is for the RSO Senate report. I want to move it down,
And that
not
is
just
time.
tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3.
Perfect. Thank you, candidate 1. Candidate 2, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Joshua Darty, and I have been on the Student Treasury Board since November of 2022. And while running for treasurer, my platform is communication, education, and clarification. Communication, as has been stated earlier, the communication from the treasurer and from the Treasury Board kind of took a nosedive this past year, both in fall and spring. While we are trying to fix it now, it is still not what it used to be. I wanted to bring back communication because those who need it, those who depend on it, have been suffering because of our lack of communication. So I'm going to bring forward bi-weekly reports. Those will be emailed and they will be done through the Discord communication hub so that no matter what's going on in the Treasury, there's something reported on projects, on systems that we're working on, etc. Next one is education. With the new RSO bracket system, it has been a headache for many people. While we thought it was a good idea, and we still believe it is, education could have been better. The videos were not enough. So with education, I'm going to revamp our mediums for educating on the new system, whether that's going to include new videos and a new test, because some of the questions, they're not always the most accurate. And then I'm also going to work, I've already looked into making
10
a
seconds remaining.
Canvas page for the student treasury. And then lastly, I want to do clarification because while educating those with the new system, those who got it the first or second time didn't quite understand it, and we are always willing
And
to
that is
clarify a third time.
Thank you, candidate number 2. Candidate number 3.
Hi, I'm James Brown III. I am charting your path to success. My main stance that I'm going on is educating new treasurers and presidents in RSOs, FSO community, and divisions as a whole as they go year to year in their progress. Going around, I saw a good bunch of problems in how some treasurers were just thrust into their positions. So a good bit of the misunderstandings with the tier system, the bracket system, come from the miseducation or the availability for that education. So one of my main things is building that knowledge gap, visualizing the progress of the treasury. So bringing more graphics, more monetary graphics to show the enhancements of the Treasury Board and what we do, and increasing the image of the Treasury as an ally and not the opposition. Now, some plans that I have is instilling a treasurer transfer packet that would be mandatory for groups on campus to make sure that as they succeed through to the next line of e-board positions, that they know what they're getting themselves into and that they're following the right procedures. Another thing that I want to instill are credit standing enhancement programs. I know that is a loose term that we kind of know that you might show up in your RSO might already be in bad standing and you don't know why. I want to have those enhancement programs and then unity projects to bring the Treasury as a whole together with other treasurers that are trying to make their way through campus.
Thank you, candidate number 3. Candidate number 4.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric Suarez. I'm a senior. My major is mechanical engineering with a concentration in high-performance vehicles. So my slogan is investing in tomorrow today. You know, this tier system is definitely something that is going to be, you know, a long-term thing that we're going to be moving forward with. So I really want to prioritize communication, and there's one way that we're going to be able to do that is by having a treasurer guide, which we used to have in the past. But that's not really available because it doesn't apply to these new tier systems. So I want to make sure that that is readily available for everyone. I also want to have, you know, a lot of like frequently asked questions available to everyone. Really emphasize on emails and through all the communication channels we have, Discord, emails, and campus groups. I know that there's a lot of issues with campus groups, but the best way to tackle those miscommunications is by having a quick response before deadlines happen and, you know, a lot of miscommunication for those deadlines. So prevent the problem before it happens is something I really want to go towards.
Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed with directed questions, part of the debate. I will read the question and each candidate will be given 90 seconds to respond, starting from the time that they begin speaking. Question 1 reads as follows. If elected to the SGA Executive Board, what would your immediate priorities be for the SGA and the student body? We'll begin with candidate number 2, and followed by candidate 3, and so on. Candidate 2, whenever you're ready.
One of my immediate priorities that I want to look into is quite possibly increasing the amount of funding that each senator receives, because not everyone is in an RSO, not everyone is in a club. So therefore, not everyone directly benefits from the funding of the SGA. So what I would like to do is increase the funding from the senators so that they have more money to increase the well-being of all students on campus that they represent, and so that they have more opportunity to outreach, more chances for projects, and they can really broaden what they envision for their positions.
Ticket number 3.
My first steps going into this position would be reforming how the Treasury is taught, how the new treasurers are going to be adjusting to their roles in these positions. This was imperative with starting on building that treasurer packet, especially going into the new year. We have new treasurers popping up with new organizations. Following that would then be working on planning the Unity projects that I spoke of, which are workshops that would help people learn the financial insides and outs of their organizations, but also building skills that they can learn after college.
Candidate number 4.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. If elected to the SGA Executive Board, what would your immediate priorities be for the SGA and student body?
One of the first things I would focus on is knowing exactly where all of our funding goes. I know that that has been kind of a hazy subject across the board for all SGA. So, and making that completely transparent with all the organizations. And once we actually find that, then we can see where there's discrepancies and where we can start moving funds around. And it's kind of like how we did this semester by moving excess funds that we had from professional development into the capital expenditures fund. So, of course, playing with all of those numbers that can, impact more organizations and a lot of students on campus.
And finally, candidate number 1.
So for once I become treasurer, I basically want to kind of add in, basically I want to talk with all clubs on campus. I'm probably going to start within tier 7 and go to tier 1 just to get any feedback. It's going to be through Discord and through emails just to get a consensus of what's going on. But I would also really like to get a consensus on the divisions and the branches within the SGA, just to hear what their opinion is and how I can try, and the Student Treasury Board that's elected can further help with them. And then also I want to add in basically a treasurer junior. It will kind of sit as a cabinet member, and basically it will be an assist to myself, an assist to basically the financial department to make sure that we can try our best to get more payment requests out quicker to students, because I know that's been a longing issue, and I really want to try to get that issue fixed.
Awesome. Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between the candidates based off the responses for question number 1. Any candidate may begin.
I have a question for number 3. So you say you want to bring in a treasurer training packet, and you say it's going to be mandatory. How will you mandate that and regulate that?
Mandate that by having each RSO to then go forward with the process of wanting to submit their budget. They should show that they have done the transfer packet, so that going forward, we're not hitting the same roadblocks of, okay, new person, now we got to start it over. New person, now we got to start it over. This transfer packet should help clubs also be able to be financially smart in themselves. That's what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build characters who are able to financially support their organizations without needing to always come crawling back to us for more help. We are here to set the standard. If they have the right rules in place and the availability and those assets, they'll be able to move forward even without needing to always constantly be confused as they go through their next line.
Are you going to mandate that specific things be on that packet?
Specific things would be knowing where their credit stands within their organization, and like how they should be justifying their funds that they're requesting. Because a lot of organizations go in and if they're new and they're trying to figure out what to get, all that's in their mind is, oh, we need to get money. But then sometimes they don't know what they need to get money for. So having that transfer packet will help them internally in their organization know, like, okay, so we maybe shouldn't ask for something outlandish when we've been doing we've been doing this and it's been a good line, and we're building that right rapport so that we're able to then justify new projects like conferences and then travel and things like that.
10 seconds remaining.
And instead of other things that are just like, oh, we're going to keep trying for useless like items that they know they can do better.
And that's time. Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed with question 2. Question 2 reads as follows. What will you do for RSOs and other organizations to help improve their financial well-being and ensure that they are equally represented? We will begin with candidate number 3, followed by 4, and so on. Candidate number 3, whenever you are ready, you may begin.
So again, to help improve their financially well-being, my Unity projects that I hope to instill, these workshops are there for the students. It's there for other treasurers to collaborate with each other and see like-minded clubs or even different clubs and seeing how their money is going towards their funding. A good portion of that is making sure that whenever we're doing the budget reviews, that we're taking in the merit of their organization into consideration and the amount of potential that they have, especially if they're a competing organization. We know that they're going to go to conferences, and when they bring that justification with that knowledge that will have previously been able to be put to them, they'll be able to justify that, and it will help their case. And same thing with social orgs. When they're planning events, the impact on the community will be taken into consideration, and so on and so forth, so that it can better be there to be an arm for them to lean on and grow.
Candidate number 4.
I believe I can help RSOs and other organizations financially by making myself accessible well outside of office hours. That's not something new that I've done. I've actually had meetings with people like in 1 a.m. So I try to make myself as accessible as possible. And to help them financially would definitely be to speed up the payment request process. I know that that has been a huge problem. So that is working with accounting to see what we can do to speed up those processes, because like I was mentioning earlier, if you're not able to hit those deadlines, then it just tracks all over into the next semester like we had this semester, and that is something we definitely cannot have. So for sure, I need to have that transparency with that communication that we're having with accounting and with the student body, so they know exactly what we're ensuring to do.
Candidate 1.
So on my end, I kind of want to just add in more training sessions and kind of, as Eric said as well, make myself more accessible to the student body. I also kind of want to add basically kind of a beneficial way that I can kind of support is just also showing up with more opportunities, explaining a lot of the opportunities that through other funding options that we have on campus, such as our professional development club, our professional development fund, our capital expenditures, and the annual fund that we currently have on campus.
Candidate number 2.
When it comes to the financial well-being of all RSOs, it always roots back to how they were educated on how to use the system, because as many know, their financial standing is heavily dependent on how they used their finances in the previous semester and how they believe they can use it in the future. And you can't give an accurate answer to that question unless you know the system and you are educated on it fairly. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to revamp the education systems that we have, not only for the bracket system, but for other systems that we have in place, such as the capital expenditures, such as the professional development, because again, if you don't get to the root of the problem, which is the education that is lacking amongst RSOs, then you can't fundamentally fix the problem of their well-being when those are suffering and they're still not educated.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between the candidates based off of the responses for question number 2. Any candidate may begin.
I have a question for ticket number 4. What are some ways that you hope to work with accounting? I know they're an elusive force and they have their own structure. So what are your plans actively towards that?
Yeah, so first is always having that first communication. talking with them, seeing what their guidelines are, what the most problems are that sends those payment requests backwards, that inevitably delays that process. Because when that happens, organizations are going to have to resubmit that payment request. So that's double work on all sides. And so, seeing also if we can implement a more straightforward fronting process for RSOs. And of course, it's all that starting that communication. I do have one of their contacts that I do want to talk to for that, but yeah.
Thank you.
If we embolden the fronting process, do you think that will be a detriment to those who can't sustain themselves and they just have everything else fronted, therefore they can't move forward? Do you think that would be a detriment to those who just rely on the fronting processes?
So currently, right now, I've received a lot of emails because I'm the tier 7 representative that organizations just cannot financially purchase out of their own pockets. So that's why we have the Amazon purchasing program and the fronted purchases. So I have emailed and went back and forth with Jonathan quite a bit this semester for fronted purchases. So I just want to make sure that that's an easier process instead of having to rely on one student treasury representative and then having that email chain going back and forth with that prolonged communication.
Awesome. Thank you, candidates. We'll now proceed with question number 3. Question 3 reads, how do you plan to improve the communication between the student treasury and the student board? We'll begin with candidate number 4, followed by candidate 1, and so forth. Candidate 4, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So previously, like I said, having those, your accessibility outside of office hours is a huge help. And then also having the new guidelines for new treasurers, because I know that this process is a lot longer than what we're supposed to have. And then also making sure that everything is up to date with our emails, our campus groups, having those videos published, so having new training videos published, and then also having, I guess, a review session of the training quizzes that we're going to be having. Also, having more town halls to explain every deadline, having those repeated reminders before and not just, within the week, sending people just a reminder for something that's going on, have it well in advance.
Candidate number 1.
I think the way that kind of we can improve our communication again is just through our town halls and implementing more of that system to basically have that face-to-face communication, because I feel like within the student treasury now, it is a very phone-to-phone conversation and it's not face-to-face. And the way that I like to operate, I like to get to know you as a person and kind of understand your case and why you're coming in for whatever reason it might be. But also for in communication, I also very explicitly with your $150 that you're spending on your own SGA fee, I do want to send out basically a chart of what all that money is being divvied up to, so you understand as a student what your money is going towards, and those basically the operations that your money is being used for.
Candidate number 2.
The way I intend to improve communication between the student treasury and the student body is, again, 1, the bi-weekly report. The student treasury works on quite a few. Each board member works on their own processes, our own forms. Like for myself, I work on the Amazon purchasing program with another board member. And the only thing they see is whether it was approved or denied unless they come and ask me directly, unless I can also find them. So what I want to do is implement a bi-weekly reporting system so that every little subcommittee that we have and the Treasury Board as a whole has a report that they can give out every 2 weeks so that everyone knows what the Treasury is working on outside of just what we say. And then I'm going to also, we brought forth at the very end of last semester, and we kept it through this semester, where we were voting on and publicizing our meeting minutes so people actually know what we talk about and the decisions we made and how they were made. I'm going to make sure that is maintained because people want to know why we go to a decision and what the vote is on that decision. And then again, I'm going to make sure I can make a Canvas page because every student on campus is very, very familiar with the Canvas system as a whole. And I want to make sure that students, it's at their forefront of what they can do. I'm sure almost every student has Canvas on their phone looking at their to-do list, we can make announcements and we can make modules on Canvas to improve the communication.
10 seconds
and
remaining.
that goes back to the education as well.
And candidate number 3.
As I said, one of my main goals was making treasury graphics of the monetary data. I know that's something big to be able to visualize your spending. And another thing that I wanted to focus on was other forms of effective communication. Our Discord, it can be better. And I believe adding mods to increase that turnout to make it more accessible and navigatable will help with trying to direct questions. Definitely having an FAQ section so that when they're asking those questions that have already been told, they can find those quick answers without needing to always at the treasurer or at someone else on the treasury board. And then also having a comment box. Like my other colleagues have said, that is imperative to keep getting more feedback on what we can continue to do in other troubles that are troubling the student body.
Awesome. Thank you. At this time, we will allow a period of 120 seconds for discussion and debate between candidates based on the responses from question number 3. You may begin at any point.
Josh, I got a question for you because I know you brought up the biweekly, sorry. And I was kind of curious what that involves because I know a lot of the operations that we do are normally covered in minutes. So I didn't know if that was an extent of, like, is an extent further from minutes, or is it just, I just kind of wanted to get your idea on it.
So what I intend on doing for it is, you're right, a lot of our systems are reported in our minutes, but what I plan on doing with the biweekly report is a more in-depth of what each, let's say, forum on campus groups is dealing with. Like for the professional development fund, how much is remaining on a biweekly basis, or for the very first time capital expenditures, how much is remaining, how many were approved, and for Amazon purchasing program as well, how many are currently outstanding, how many have been approved, how many have been denied, and for what reasons. I want to go more in depth with the biweekly report.
Awesome. At this point, we will transition into a period of general discussion for tonight's debate. During this time, candidates are given 15 minutes for discussion amongst debate amongst themselves based on the responses of anything said this evening. Any candidate may begin.
A kind of a general question for everyone. I, in my position, hope to, again, be that ally to the student body rather than the perceived opposition that it is now. What are your plans, social media-wise, for connecting with the student body? Because I know the Treasury does sit back, kind of handles the administrative work, but then they also want to see us as students. So what are your plans dealing with that?
So what I plan on doing is, the whole reason why I'm running for this position is because I enjoy seeing students use the funds that we give them to expand and thrive through the student body. And you're right, so we do have a social media account that does get worked on, but right now it's only used to announce our town halls. But we could also use them to say, hey, these are coming up outside of the town halls. We used to post deadlines on them constantly, almost on a weekly basis. I want to make sure that is brought back. And again, I want to see every student thrive, and I want to make sure that I know at least every organization's story to at least almost a bullet point, so I can know what your mission statement is, and I want to know how you're expanding through the student body and how you're thriving based on what we are giving you.
Yeah, James, for your question, what I'd really like to do actually is a lot of the RSOs on campus, I'd really like to showcase them on our student treasury page and kind of send it out to like Avion, Wicked, Touch and Go, just that they can post it as well, and so that basically members of the SGA can also basically send out things of the great things that students are doing on campus with their clubs, all the great events. But also myself, I'd really like to go and take pictures with clubs just to see what they're up to, because I've gone to a couple of clubs over the past, the past week or so, and there's some clubs where it's like you hear about them, but you have no idea to the extent of how much work they're doing, and it's incredibly fascinating. So yeah, I would just kind of love to improve our social media in that way, because I know our own student treasury page, there isn't a lot really to go on it because the way that we used to think about it was having just important dates that are in line. But to your point, yeah, I think we should add in a section where it's basically also showcasing the students of our campus.
Yeah, to Bryce's point, definitely adding an RSO, I guess, like spotlight. I know that we did something kind of like that in the past. I know 2 semesters ago, we used to repost any story or post that anyone who tagged the student treasury. And I think, keeping that going is definitely a good way to connect with the RSOs on there. And another way that we can increase communication would be for, I guess, having a constant, frequent, or like a constant suggestion on our Instagram that's, out pretty much every single day, so people can, give their feedback or, go into some rough territory that is the anonymous questions, because I know some people don't like putting their face to some of the questions that they have to ask, but yeah.
And then bouncing back on that, in our guidelines, we are told that we should be attending RSOs at least every 2 weeks. And I'll be full transparent, I don't think most of us have hardly done that at all in the past quite a while. So what I plan on moving forward is that's going to be a much harder guideline, or maybe even a treasury bylaw that we can suggest, to where the board members actually do have to go towards the RSOs that they manage and see what they're doing. Because right now it's just a guideline that is suggested, but I believe that should be more mandatory, because if at that point we are just mandating a flow of cash and we don't see firsthand how it's being spent and what they're reporting on.
I was doing some checks early today, looking at the Treasury guidelines that are in the bylaws, and I did see that 15 or so RSOs that Treasury board members should be going to, whether that be what they're over their tier system. Do you think that not branching out, not going to those RSOs for our Treasury board members, do you think that affects the way that some things are voted on in those sessions? Me personally, I'm not part of the board, so I wouldn't know, but just in your own opinion.
In my own opinion, I believe it can affect it, because when we come to decisions, even during allocations, we will always ask, well, what is the point? What are they doing? Why are they asking for this? Or I didn't understand what they're asking for. That definitely does inhibit our voting capability, because then we are voting something we're not the most aware of. We also have, during allocations, we have Googled some things that are on budget packets or events on budget packets, because we are just not familiar with what they are doing. And I believe if we were to start going towards these RSOs and approaching them instead of them approaching us, we could make much more informed decisions.
With that being said, we're going to transition into the general audience Q&A part of tonight's debate. During this time, audience members are able to ask questions. We ask that you raise your hands. As a member of the executive committee, will bring a microphone to you. The questions from the audience must follow up or relate to what the candidates have said at tonight's debate. And you're asked to indicate who your question is directed to, for example, all candidates or candidate one. I now turn over the floor to the audience.
All right, thank you guys for being here. My question is, currently the treasurer is not allowed to serve, I believe, not allowed to serve as the treasurer of an RSO, but treasury board members are. Do you think that should continue to still be the case for general treasury board members? And how do you address potential conflicts of interest between a treasurer of an RSO who's also a treasury board member? Thank you. All candidates.
I guess or do you want to speak? I'll speak first. So you're right, there are treasury board members who are treasurers of organizations. First and foremost, I am the treasurer of the paintball team along with someone else. The way that we mitigate conflicts of interest is that if you are involved in the financial standing of an organization, you cannot be in the room during discussion or during voting time. You're an immediate abstention, and you're not allowed to chime in during the discussions of, for example, allocations. I had to sit outside. If you're a member of the organization, but you are not in the financial standing, you are allowed to be inside of the conversation, but you cannot make a vote. that is how we mitigate conflict of interest, because what, to your point, is completely correct. I'm sure there have been times in the past, and there will be times in the future, where a vote is swayed because of their standing, and I believe it will not be tossed away that if you are in the financial making of an organization, you are forced to step out.
I think that treasurers of organizations should be allowed on the Treasury Board because those are the most experienced members on campus. So those are the ones who are most involved with the financial process. And if you're having inexperienced members on the Treasury Board helping other students, they have to get themselves caught up first before they can help out other people. So.
Yes, I kind of see treasurers are part of the Treasury Board in both that it could be contentious. I respect the way that they do it now where they leave the room where they're not a part of the conversation. But I think it's important that our Treasury Board members are well informed of how finances already work within their RSOs, even with the new systems being implicated, but also to the fact that personal bias could still come from having a treasury person on your board connected to an RSO. But I think if we just look towards regulating what that continues to look like, it can be controlled.
Yeah, on my point, I I do believe that it is a very good thing that treasurers of clubs on campus are on the board, because again, that experience that they have within filling out budget packets, understanding how reallocations work, understanding how to fill out a capital expenditure, all those things are very important. And the main issue that we have ran into in the past whenever a vacancy does happen is that normally when you elect a new person who doesn't, when you're going through basically the applicants and they don't have that initial experience, that means basically when we are trying to move things forward, we also have to backtrack a little bit because we have to catch them up to speed on what's going on. But if they are a current treasurer, then they're right on track and we can keep moving forward.
All right, thank you guys so much for being here. My question is directed at everyone who has been a part of the Treasury, so Treasury board members. Joshua, you talked about how it is in the guidelines that Treasury board members need to be basically present, part of going to RSOs, getting familiar. I know you guys are definitely aware, you can't be at this point, that the Treasury's image is pretty terrible because at the end of the day, people don't know who you are and you're not making that presence. So how do you plan on building trust with students given that you haven't been present and haven't following your own guidelines? And how can we trust that you will when you're in your position, and also that you will make sure that other board members do to fix the current reputation of the Treasury?
So when it comes to that, obviously everyone has to start somewhere, and I'm very aware that the image is not always the most pleasant when it comes to the student body to the student treasury board. And to start building trust, I would start sending the board members, and myself included, I would go to organizations that I could. I will send them to their respected tiers RSOs, and I want the RSOs to see their faces. I want the student treasury board members to go to the RSOs and say, hey, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to answer your questions without you having to come on my time. I believe that is a very good starting point on building trust between the RSOs and the student treasury board. And like I said earlier, I'll make sure it is very heavily enforced or mandated that the student treasury board members have to at least go to one per week, just so something is actually happening, because it has to start somewhere.
Hello, good night, everyone. Kind of a two-part question. First, to the current Treasury board members, what would you say to the student body now to help them believe that if one of you current members serving on the Treasury board will not continue with the status quo? And then the second part of that question is for you, James. Why do you think you would be the most suitable as a new and fresh person in this role, as opposed to members who have served on the board before and have a lot of experience?
Yeah, I'll kind of start on your points. That fantastic question to ask. I think the thing that I myself, and I think a lot of people on the Treasury board would kind of like to give a point to, is that we're currently in a situation now where we want and we need to help you as students. In the past, we have been implementing a lot of systems. The bracket system that we currently have in place has taken a long time to develop. I think all three of us on the board currently, we all worked on it together. We thought of everything, every single criteria. We thought of all of it ourselves. And basically now, more than ever, especially with kind of this semester, how all of the presidential and the quiz, kind of all the denials through that basically happened. Now more than ever, we understand and we have the time, and basically right now we're just trying to bring more clarity to you guys and making sure that we're all on the same page until we move into our next big step when we have our next big idea.
I would like to go regarding your status quo question. When I first joined the Treasury Board, there was completely no transparency whatsoever. The Treasury Board members themselves were not even given the amount that we were working with. So I think we have been making a lot of progress. The problem is just communicating that with the student body and making sure that everyone knows the work that we're doing. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. It's just kind of hard to see that because this is a long process that we've been building up on. If you ask any of the old senior members, if you didn't, if your collections were under 50%, your budget was cut in half, and the max you could move up back then was $2,000. So the tier system that we have in place now is to try to help organizations so they can't fall off as hard as they used to.
For me, in order to make sure I don't fall in under that status quo and I make sure I don't continue it, I want to make sure that RSOs know I enjoy this job, I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy seeing students expand and thrive through the means that we give them, whether it's professional development, it's the RSO allocation, capital expenditures. I want to make sure they know that I am an ally with them. I'm going to sit, I will be there with them whenever they need me, and they just need to know I enjoy the job, and I'll make sure that I keep doing it to the best of my ability.
To answer your question, for me, I, like my cohorts, have been a part of organizations, whether that be financial or not. And so that part is also being a quote unquote victim of the system already, knowing that low financial leeway at that point in time. But then I also bring a different perspective as serving as business director for 2 years for Wicked, before the tier list change or zero-based budget that we're now on to the current system. And it has allowed me to be able to contact with higher ups and understand the processes that have been going on. So learning the same knowledge that the Treasury Board is also given, while also understanding the place that RSOs are coming from. So with this, further, my passion is understanding the financial intricacies. I want to continue asking those questions, why is this happening? And then sharing that with others so that they also understand. Again, clarity is imperative. So we're moving past the transparency part of, oh, let's show all this knowledge. We need to now share and ingrain and make sure that once we say it once, that it's not being forgotten, that they're actually being able to apply the things that they're learning. And so that's my focus. That's the type of different outbringing that I want to bring, that freshness.
Hi, my name is Brielle Herron. I'm the president of the Riddle Players Theater Company that we just restarted this year. And a lot of you guys have mentioned communication. The quiz that I know has come up, my club, none of my executives ever received that quiz, therefore never took it, and all of our budgets were denied. We received $0, nothing. Our treasurer went in and begged several times for anything that could be spared for us, and we were shooed away, didn't get anything. And now I've been told that there's extra money that people are able to ask for, and I'm just kind of confused on how we couldn't get anything to begin with, but now there's all this leftover money that people can have. So how would you guys make it more feasible for the new RSOs that are trying to build up the community to get funding, especially when they're going up established RSOs with favoritism? And also, a lot of you have talked about wanting to see things firsthand. So on top of that, if you would like to see something firsthand, we have rehearsal at 9 o'clock in here, and you're all welcome to attend.
I would like to jump on that question. Being new to that system, my plan is to again, reorganize that credit rating that RSOs are receiving, but also be able to provide in the workshops that I want to instill the availability for people to outreach. I know a big part is some RSOs come into the whether old or new, they come into the system past budget deadlines, or where they can't find the campus groups, can't find the discords, or are not told where to actually go and navigate. And part of that process that I want to alleviate is being able for people to outreach, proposal writing, to learn the system in a more connective way that doesn't just leave you like, okay, I need to read this one email, I need to read this one Discord post, and so on and so forth.
So I do have a question for you, and it's just going to go into one of my points. Are you in the Student Treasury Discord?
I am in the Discord, but I was not in the Discord until after the fact because, like I said, none of my club knew there was a Treasury Discord or knew about the quizzes to begin with.
Right, so that's going to bring me into a point. I believe we have become too reliant on Discord. It is a very fantastic service that we use, but it's very hard to outreach to those who don't even know it's there, and they don't know where to find us. So on that point, so that what happened this semester won't happen again, where many RSOs were denied funding due to the quiz, I plan on, and I'm sure many of my other colleagues plan on bringing back the mass emailing that we kind of kicked to the curb. I'll figure out how that goes together because you do need authorization for it, but I will make sure that gets done. And the additional funding that you inquired about, what that additional funding is it's the capital expenditures and the professional development. The professional development is open to all students to go to conferences to make sure that they can expand, their networking and their professional development. And the capital expenditure surplus that we're sitting at right now that hasn't happened ever since I've been on the board in November of 2022, that is the capital expenditure budget, and it is meant to be used for those with an allocation. So for y'all who got denied for the training quiz, under me, I'll make sure that does not happen again because so many students were affected by the quizzes and they just did not know it existed because they weren't in the Discord. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again through the ability of mass emailing and other avenues that I will explore.
Yeah, a way that I kind of as well, I kind of want to reiterate on Josh's point that we have become too reliant on the Discord, and kind of a way that I want to help do it is that basically I want to recreate the budget, basically request the entire video in a sense, and making sure that we add in a section where we talk about quizzes and that basically you have to take this before you can get a packet approved. Because that is one of the major steps that has now been included due to the fact that we no longer kind of have a training session that we used to have actually in this very room. And I also kind of want to add, I don't know what your opinion would be or how it would work best, but kind of having QR codes. I don't know if we want to have them as flyers around campus or just by the front desk within the SLS in and of itself or on the student treasury wall, just in case if people do not know where that is. But on that point, we will still work our absolute best to redirect you if that's within emails or within Discord, but also having an in-person option that you're able to use.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about I guess this goes kind of back to my other point of, finding that problem that happened at the beginning. So if you're not getting any emails, that's having that communication with, our campus group's advisor and making sure that that's rectified and why that problem is happening. And then also regarding, I would like to meet with your organization actually one-on-one because even though that you weren't able to submit a budget, there are still other funding opportunities that you may be eligible for. So if you would like, you could talk to me after that and we can figure something out. And regarding, I guess, communication, was your treasurer, I guess, did they talk to your Tier 7 representative?
Our treasurer went into the SLS and talked to several different people, including Harley Valdez directly, and nobody was able to help us. No one from our tier, no one higher up, nothing.
Okay. Because I am the Tier 7 representative, I didn't have any communication, but we'll talk after this and we could definitely find a solution.
Perfect. And with that, thank you all very much and at this time, we're going to invite the candidates to make any closing comments. We'll allot 90 seconds for each candidate, starting with candidate 1 and going down the line. Candidate 1, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hello. Hello again. Again, my name is Bryce, and kind of what I'm running on is communication, dependability, and revisionary. And within everything, I just generally want to help you as students. The reason why I'm running for this, I know there's probably a lot of people know that basically you do get a tuition voucher, but when I run for positions of this massive size of emphasis, I don't run for the money. I run for a reason of I think I can genuinely be the best one for it. And that's kind of why I'm running and talking with you all today. Yeah, it's just I genuinely want to help you guys. I know it's difficult. I know it's not the easiest system, but if we can get everybody on the same board, we can keep moving forward and moving into the future to make sure everyone gets more and better financial success.
As my closing statement, again, my name is Joshua Darty, and my platform is communication, education, clarification. And if I were to send anyone home with just one thing that they took from tonight, I would want them to know that I enjoy this job. I enjoy seeing what they can do with what we give them, and I want to see them grow. So I am here for you. I'm here to work with you. I am a student as well. I've been through the system as before. I understand how daunting and how weird it all looks to someone who's not familiar with it and to some people who are familiar with it. I just want to make sure that you know I'm not your enemy, I'm your ally, and I'll make sure that is very well known because I want to see you grow.
I'm James Brown, and I am charting your path to success. My main emphasis is teaching, and that is where my passion lies, and making sure people understand the same financial intricacies that drive me for their own clubs and organizations. But beyond that, they can be able to use these skills as this growing time in college so that they can be able to apply that outside in the real world. It is very imperative that we come together and that are knowledgeable about these facts because it's hard out there. We know that we have passions here. That's why we join these organizations. And the SGA, first and foremost, is for the people, by the people. No one's going to help us as much as we are going to help ourselves. So, yes.
Candidate 4.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Suarez. I'm currently the longest-standing board member, and my main thing is to help all of you with everything that you need. I represent Tier 7, which is 100 organizations, so there's a lot of helping that needs to go around for there. But, you know, I've worked with Harley ever since I've been on the board, so I know exactly how the back-end process works and how the front-end process works, because I've been a treasurer of 2 organizations, I've submitted 8 budget packets, and I've reviewed over 700 budget packets, so I know what the frequently denied requests are and, you know, what things are usually going to tend towards. So, of course, I want to, you know, make my focus on communication, refine our current tier process, and, you know, make sure that you guys can succeed within your organizations and help yourselves with the professional development of your student career.
Thank you, candidates. Before I wrap up, I'm going to go off the script for a quick second. I just want to first and foremost thank my assistant supervisor, Dylan, for all the hard work with helping plan this debate. I also want to thank my executive board members in the Avion who are here, none of us in this room, myself, Dylan, or my exec board members, are getting any financial compensation, any sort of compensation or any additional compensation for sitting here and serving the student body and doing our duty. But without them, this entire debate would not be possible. So I just want to first and foremost say that. Thank you to them. With that, it is my pleasure to wrap up tonight's Treasurer Executive Debate for the 2024 SGA season. I would like to take a moment and remind you that the election kickoff event is Monday starting at noon to 3 p.m. on the first and second floor of the Union. This is a great opportunity to meet candidates one-on-one. We highly recommend it, especially if you have lingering questions after tonight's debate. As a reminder, voting will take place online at erau.edu/SGA-vote, starting Monday at 8 a.m. and will be ending Thursday, April 4th at 11:59 p.m. Election results will be announced during the Skyline Social on Friday, April 5th at 5 p.m. in the inside the student union. If you have any questions regarding the elections administration, or for more information, please email myself, the Supervisor of Elections, dbsgaecc@urau.edu. This concludes the Treasurer Executive Debate and the SGA Executive Debates for the 2024 season. Thank you for your attendance.